Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks. Today we are taking a look at the Lava Straits. This is one of my favorite variations of this map. I really love when players decide to tune it in to make the strait the main focus of the action. That's not to say that it's the only place we see action though. There's a lot of times where some cheeky T3 units can walk through the lava fields, or we see air raids coming around because obviously you normally see anti-air out in the ocean here. And that's not really going to be possible. At least it's going to be difficult. Anyway, I was also sent this replay because it does feature a very special boy. We'll get to meet him in just a minute here, but why don't we meet our team leaders first? Representing the blue team, Armada colors and spawning on the beachhead lane. The sea lane, as I like to call it. Even though that is not really applicable this time. It's still the position. It's going to be Exopyromathic. I'm going to go with Exopyromathic here. Going for a bot lab start, 3 windmills, all very stock standard, although the wind speed on this map can get very low sometimes, so you have to always keep an eye out for that. I've realized that sometimes, you know, it's easy to just get into your build and just queue it all up and get ready, but if you really want to step up that game, you got to start optimizing even the tiniest of details. Bear in mind, I'm just relaying what I have noticed about my own game. But one of those tiny details that you can optimize is just looking at the wind speed, the current wind speed before you go into your energy production here. Obviously, you can't predict which way up or down it's going to go, but at the time it is a decision to make whether you go for that solar panel or that windmill start. Again, I will officially grant you 2 to 3 tier 1 solar panels off the start, right at the get-go. After that, you have to be very, very cautious, and I will keep a close eye on you. Have I ranted enough about T1 solar panels for the video? Maybe, maybe not. Representing the red team here, Cortex Bright Red. That's what we like to see. Spawning in the support position, the geothermal support position. It's the midline position here on Supreme Straits. It's going to be Fake Body. That's a funny little name. There's some history behind that. If I remember correctly, it's just the hashtag you use to basically get around any censors that you want. Like any censorship, I should say. I don't know if I should be recounting this. Maybe YouTube will get mad at me, but who cares? Right? Watch this video get taken down. No, yeah, Fake Body here, going to be the red team leader. 35 true skill on a flag that I do not recognize. Somebody drop it down below in the comments, and hopefully I see it and I can pin it. I do try to read all those comments. It's getting a little tough now. It's you know, suffering from success a little bit. I always feel a bit weird talking about this, but the channel is getting big enough that I still recognize a lot of the regulars, but there's also just so many comments that I'm so grateful for. Anyways, enough of that. Nostradamus in the back lane here for the blue team. Sorry, let me show you the front lines here. It looks like there's a constructor that is going to go down here for Clueless. I do like that he sent that constructor forward to start eating from these scraps, but unfortunate that there were no blitzes to protect it at the time. So that constructor going down kind of nullifies the metal that it was able to eat up. Although, actually, he might have been able to eat up enough metal there to justify that. So we'll call it an even trade. Nostradamus, if you are new around here, is a very infamous player, well known for inventing the Nostradamus maneuver, wherein you produce a tremendous amount of T2 heavy transports, Armada heavy transports, which have like an EMP stun beam attached to them, and then you go into beamer turrets, the T1 medium laser turret right here, build a ton of those, and eventually what you end up with is an army capable of dropping static defense on the enemy, and it's overwhelming to say the least. This is quite special. We're going for T1 eco. We're going heavy into it too. We've got tons of energy converters on the docket. We've got tons of windmills on the production queue as well. Huge rows of them. We are building them 2 by 2 as well. Somebody mentioned in the video that they didn't know about the 3 wide versus the 2 wide windmill thing, so I figure I might as well rehash it. When you build wind turbines, for them to when they die, they do a little bit of explosive damage. Let me just explain this from the very start. They do a little bit of explosive damage around them. You can see that the radius is basically 3 wide. So if you have, because the damage falls off, so essentially it will do critical damage, one to its left and one to its right, and one to its north, one to its south. So when you do them, when you do any amount of windmills 3 wide, then they have the potential to chain react off each other, and so a single bomber can just take out your entire airfield, or wind field, I should say. So this is very nice that we are splitting all of these up and keeping them 2 by 2. And what you can do is just put a little gap here. You just queue up these wind turbines with like this, with a big, well, mine are spaced out one. That's another option you can do, is just using the Z key or the X key. You can space them out one, and spacing them out by 1 click will also do the same effect, but it can be a little bit difficult to fit those in everywhere. So what I like to do is do a huge field like this, and then go back through and re-shift drag to highlight the rows where they should be missing, and that'll take them out, and then you have this nice grid of wind turbines. Anyways, enough eco-cringing. Are these spread out one? I don't think so. So this so for instance, this wind turbine field would chain react. Also, wind speeds are really abysmal right now, so those players are going to be hurting in the back line here. Clueless going for a gauntlet on the front line. That's it's a risky gambit, because it means that you're basically not going to have any unit production. Although, typically that's because there's no metal in the bank, but right now, actually, it is a critical energy shortage. I'd love to see maybe one of these constructors here eating up some of the trees around here, or maybe a resbot being handed over. That's something that I would definitely encourage, as if you're playing on Supreme Straits here. Think about communicating. If you're going to go for vehicles, communicate with some of your bot lab supporters and try and get a resbot, or 2 or 3 out if you can. They'll be able to build it a whole lot quicker than you will with having the lab naturally. I like that we're using the walls here. I've been trying to do some more of that myself. The walls are sort of a hidden gem. They really can do a lot to protect you, especially against, for instance, missile trucks. Well, I guess that was kind of a bad example there, but against units, the missiles will often collide with the walls, or if the missile trucks are a little bit closer here. But right now, these missiles are having no trouble hitting this light laser turret, so I guess still not a perfect protection against siege, but certainly helps against run-bys. It also can help against ticks, especially if that's something that your opponent is going for early on. It's a relatively inexpensive way to make sure that they cannot harass, well, virtually anything that you surround in walls. At the very least, making it incredibly difficult for them to do so. Gauntlet does come up here. I guess there was a influx of energy as the wind speed goes up here, and so eventually it will be purchased. Getting it out early on the front lines is actually very nice. It's going to help. Early, I guess we're 7 minutes into this game. Still feels early, but on Lava Supreme Straits, things move very, very quickly because nobody is focused on going Cs. Essentially, the C lane the C lane and the beachhead players both end up being a techer. Indeed, you can see Zamo Guitar here going for massive wind fields as well. Again, going for those 2x2s. Very, very lovely work here. Lorify going for the air lab in the back, going to be tasked with keeping the team safe from aerial harassment. I would actually like to see 2 air players. I think when you're going to go Lava Straits, it's worthwhile to have 2 air players, one for the south and one for the north. I think usually that balances out pretty well. It also means that if there's a bomber run, one of the players can take out the fighter screen, the other player can move in behind and take out the bombers. That's something that I see a lot of people get wrong, is when you see bombers coming in, usually the first indicator is you see their fighter wall, right? You see 100 fighters moving around the map in this direction. It probably means that there's 50 bombers moving around behind it, right? So when you see 50 fighters moving around towards one section of the map, don't go fight their fighters. Don't move over here. You want to move your fighters around this way and intercept the bombers. The fighters aren't going to do anything. The fighters are no threat. It's the bombers that you really have to go after, so always be conscious of that. The other thing is sometimes people will fake out with the fighters. They'll try and move the fighters over here. This is something that I've been trying to do a whole lot more recently, and it actually works pretty well. Maybe I can find a replay showcasing this, but you move the fighters in this direction, they move their entire fighter wall down here to intercept the fighters. You just move the bombers in from over here, and there's no fighters left. You wipe out 1, 2, or maybe 3 bases in this direction, and you've done your damage, right? Air is kind of expendable in this game. You sort of do your damage and don't expect them to come back home. At least for most of them. I guess that isn't true of maybe something like dragons or the liches, the nuclear bombers. You probably want to be a little more sparing on those ones, but definitely even those are very, very flimsy, relatively speaking. For high-level T2, maybe even like borderline T3 units, they're definitely ones that you want to try and keep alive to your very best efforts. Clueless here going for another gauntlet. That's a lot of metal. Now he does have the metal extractors here that are worth 4.5, so if anybody's going to be able to afford it, it's definitely going to be him, but I'm not sure I really like that. I do like, however, that there's T2 that's already been given out, and we are upgrading all the T2 metal extractors. Still a huge power shortage right now. Yeah, the wind speed is just abysmal. At this point, you should probably just consider upgrading to advanced solar panels, with the wind speed being as low as it is. It's a tremendous metal drain, but it can often be worth it. Okay, going for Cortex T2 here. Very interesting. Wow, this energy converter field is actually finished. Apparently there is a widget that allows you to see exactly how much of your energy conversion is being used up at any one time. Let me know down below if you think that's something that you'd be interested in me adding to the screen. I'm a little bit wary of that kind of thing because the screen is already pretty filled up with various things, and I'm not entirely sure how to toggle them. So we're gonna have to see here. We're gonna have to see. Anyways, if you guys want it, I'm always down to change. You know that's what we're all about here at the Brightworks. Always improving. Odd timing for a bunch of rascals to head out. This is fairly late into the game here. They, yeah, pretty much get destroyed. I mean, I guess that's a lot of vision. And a couple of them do sneak through. Okay, I was downing it, but yeah, a couple of them sneak through, and they certainly could do some damage back here. Metal extractor or two going down. I mean, a single metal extractor justifies the cost of a couple of rascals here. Two of them cost 52, and that was about 10 of them, so, you know, not the end of the world as far as metal costs go to produce a couple of rascals and send them through. I always do like to praise that if you're continually sending out early game units, especially harassment. It can be very, very powerful late into the game. Ooh, gets a gets a resbot kill by chain reacting it there. That's pretty funny. The other one must have been shot down that went towards Zamo Guitar's base. Hey, everybody is getting ready to properly tech up. Looks like there was a commander sacrifice over here, intentionally self-destructing the commander in order to get a nice little metal spike. Eating up the T2 laboratory. Definitely have plans to go into something big back here with the T2 lab coming down. Just using the T2 lab to pump out a single T2 constructor. It's funny because it's actually relatively late for this map. We already have Benjamin, who's been on T2 for quite a while. Definitely should have just sent a whole bunch of T2 constructors out to everybody. Everybody should just pay Benjamin and get those T2 out. Looks like T2 is well and properly underway. Dark Nate is also going for eco back here, so we don't see that 8-minute cheese. We're already well past that. We're not doing anything like that. This is a very, very stock standard game of Supreme Straits, bar the lava. That always makes things a little more complicated. It means that the turtle-y nature of it becomes even more so, but also you get these big spurts of aggression where these players start pushing into each other. Big power spikes, right? Who can get to T2, T3 the very fastest? Who can build the biggest economy? Who can make a end game condition? A Ragnarok, a Calamity, a Bomber Storm, an army that is unstoppable, a T1 Swarm, just naming off a couple of them that come to mind, but obviously there's other more niche conditions as well, sneaking units into the enemy backline using commandos or stealth tanks or basically any spy unit that you can think of. All very, very real options here. Well, real for Armada. There's no stealth tank for Cortex, that is. 77th Sigma Sultan going up to a fusion reactor here. Very nice to see. 99 and 100% of the way done. I love the Cortex fusion reactor, by the way. Have I ever talked about this? I think this thing is just beautiful. Cortex has this feel about it where everything is very, like, crude and purpose designed, very like industrial, and I think the fusion reactor does a great job of capturing that aesthetic where it's just like it looks like if you walk too close to this thing you're just gonna get sucked in and ripped apart and turned into the uncomprehensible power of the sun. The Armada fusion reactor looks much more trying to find an example of one back here. It looks much more modest. It's very It looks like it was well designed. It looks like it was planned. The technology wasn't recaptured or refacilitated from some stolen blueprint. It looks like they actually hired an engineer. I also love that the Cortex Advanced fusion reactor looks like they just upscaled the regular one. They're like, yeah, we'll just make it bigger. Why not? By the way, a advanced fusion reactor now up and running here for Nostradamus in the backline, which means that the eco spike is going to go crazy. I just released that video yesterday about the communism economy, and I think that's a very, very interesting strategy that they went for in that game. Definitely well worth taking a look into because it could be the new meta, I would argue. Definitely, if you're going to get a fusion reactor up and running by the, I don't know, what do they have it in that game? It was like 6 minutes or something, or 8 minutes. That's insane. And that amount of power going back into your team's economy is going to be well worth the investment, even if it is split between 2 people. So I'd love to see that, especially on Supreme Straits. There's tons of room for coordination, right? You have all this shared area right here. Could definitely be well worth investing in some of that sort of communal technology. An investment in the greater good. Rattlesnakes are now up, and those are much more worthwhile. 2,500 metal is a steep price to pay, but with those advanced metal extractors pumping out 17 metal a second, it should be no trouble at all getting the resources necessary to build plenty of artillery, slowly creeping it forward so that it can continue encroaching on the front lines here of the red team. Red team much less invested in static defense and going much more heavily into units. I think that's a generally better idea here, although on Lava Supreme Straits, it's a tough call. You really are forced into a very narrow choke point of a fighting field. You don't have much room for many armies to function here. You have to make do with limited surface area. Typically, the amount of surface area that you can get with your units compared to the surface area of the enemy units will determine on a even engagement who will win the fight. And Supreme Straits kind of limits you in that respect. That's why I think snipers are very powerful here, the sharpshooters. I mean, they're very powerful all the time, but especially here where they can do a huge amount of damage and then just back off because they can fall behind artillery lines that are going to be very difficult to breach. Very neat to see. Fake Body with his own T2 economy out, and it looks like we're going to go right into T3 production. Everyone's backline looks like it's filling up with those T3 economies here. T2 air production is on the way for Lorfi, although his eco is a little bit behind here. At least he has the advanced metal extractors, but certainly this fusion reactor is a little bit behind schedule. One thing that you can do, though, is just fill the entire map with windmills, sort of like what Nostradamus is doing here. If we take a look at exactly how much these windmills are contributing here, that is a solid 4,000 metal per second, a little less than half of his total economy coming from just windmills alone. It's very solid. Turning it all into metal as well is allowing for some truly exponential growth here as he starts to build this economy one energy converter at a time back here. All of them coming up all at once. This is very, very efficient teching, in case anybody's curious. A great example of what that should look like. Front line is being caved in here as a commander has gone down that I missed. Looks like it was Plague Zor's commander. Went down to a bunch of these snipers pushing in with the T1 bots here. Oh, solar panels going down. Love to see it. They don't deserve in the mid-game or even the late game. Laser turret is thrown up here. There's also some T2 artillery to try and rain down some fire on these T1 units as well. And it actually will manage to take them down. Yeah, that T2 artillery is nothing to scoff at. Again, 3 wide. Windmills are very dangerous to keep around, but we have the advanced solar panels, so those are a little bit harder to kill here and certainly worth investing in when the wind speed just doesn't seem to be on your side. Oh, laboratory goes down there, and that hurts. We also have a nuclear bomber out now from Boset, who is moving the bomber around all over the place. I hadn't looked at the true skills for this game, but I do notice that this is definitely a all-over-the-place kind of a match here. We've got the very peaks, and we've got the very, very valleys. I don't know, the very lows, the highs and the lows here, as we have some new players definitely learning the game right alongside some of the pros. Yeah, the T2 Air Lab can produce some really devastating stuff. The nuclear bomber, obviously one of them, but the EMP bomber, a sort of hidden gem. I think a lot of players overlook the EMP bomber, but it can certainly be tremendously useful, especially in combination with a nuclear bomber. You get one nuclear bomber out and a couple of EMP bombers, and you can essentially shut down any aggression that comes towards your side of the map. And you have to make sure you accompany that with fighters, of course, but that should be no problem to field a bunch of fighters. In the time that I've been looking away, Nostradamus has already doubled his economy here, going up to around 200 metal per second. That's pretty nice to see. Lorfi trying to keep up here. The Cortex economy is a little bit cheaper, and on the long run, it can definitely be a cost that's worth saving here. By God, is he gonna do it? ladies and gentlemen, we might have a well and proper Nostradamus maneuver on our hands. He's going into the proper economy for it. You need about 5 to 6 advanced fusion reactors to make this work, but of course, all the more the merrier. T1 constructor plane is out. So the way the Nostradamus works is you need a bunch of T1 constructor planes, and then you need a bunch of T2 production facilities. So this is probably what we're going to see here is a bunch of T1 constructor planes built here so that they can eventually be used to build those beamers. It's much more convenient to build them with the aerial constructors rather than these little walking boys. 1,500 metal worth of T1 constructors might not be a bad idea to reclaim all those. Looking for a T1 bot lab. I wonder what that's for. Going for more constructors. Wow. All right. Maybe he wants a... No, if he wanted a T2 lab, he could have just gone for it here. I wonder what these... what this T... Oh, interesting. Okay. Nostradamus has some interesting plans here. I don't want to miss a single thing back there, but I do have to check in on the front lines. Looks like T2 units have finally hit the front, and they are fielding in great numbers. Wow. That was a nice little artillery shot right there, as well as these negotiators, the rocket launchers, which do insta-kill the artillery units here, but also basically any T1. T3 has hit the battlefield, though, as Exopyromatics Vanguards have walked onto the field. They fire a heavy plasma shot. This is turning into a long-range battle of attrition over here. Who can survive the longest? Oh, interesting. So he's gone into a T2 air lab at this point with the Cortex faction rather than Armada. I wonder if he plans on using the Skyhooks. The Skyhooks are much more tanky, but they don't have that EMP beam. They also can carry more facilities. They can carry more stuff and things, as it is said. And that might be the idea here. Do we have the experimental units enabled? No experimental units. I was wondering. One of the fun things you can do with the experimental units, of course, is produce those quad guards. They're 4 light laser turrets in 1, which is just pretty hilarious. Ooh, nuclear bomber was sacrificed there. Don't know if that was the right idea. Kind of a waste of a nuclear bomber there. I think you really want to hold that in reserve for when you absolutely need it. These rocket launchers are really holding back this entire army, though. They're so scared to push in here because they know the second they step too far forward, those rocket launchers are going to decimate them. Now there's a bunch of spam craft heading out here, the T1 artillery, or the T1 scout craft, rather, the rovers, moving across the map to disrupt a lot of that artillery fire, and that's going to give the option for these vanguards to start marching forward, as well as this the flak trucks, the Mausers, all that good stuff. Tons of build power coming up, but we don't actually have the economy for it here from Lorphy. It's Luffy's, I don't know, cousin twice removed or something. It's a bit odd, I must say. Interesting that we transitioned all the way into oh wow, yeah, the metal extractor no longer needed here. Oh, going into a Cortex metal extractor. No, I don't think that's right. No, we want a fusion reactor there, I believe. Having some trouble there. It gets built before he even has a chance. That's pretty funny. Oh, I heard an EMP go down right here in the middle of the map. I wonder what that was. Spybot or EMP missile launcher. I am gonna guess it was a Spybot. I don't see the Paralyzer out on the field right now. In fact, I see a whole lot of Cortex, so I don't even know who would have it. I guess it might be Con Dark here, an Armada player. Yeah, very interesting. T3 Gantry is out here, but the only unit that you can really produce that can withstand the heat of the waters is going to be the Juggernaut. I don't believe the Behemoth is amphibious, so I think the Juggernaut is your only option if you're looking for that sort of naval approach here. Looks like Zamo Guitar has T3 up, as well as the facilities to start producing out of it. I'd love to see some Titans made and sent through the water. It's always a hilarious sight to see them wading their way through the molten magma of Supreme Straits. This is a dire future where Supreme Straits has been converted into a magma wastelands. Nostradamus is definitely having a problem with his hotkeys here, as he keeps building these metal storages on accident here instead of building the energy converters. It's quite funny. I wonder if there was a hotkey overhaul for the game right before this or something, and it ended up causing problems. T3 is headed towards the other side of the map here for Fake Body. catapults, which are very powerful. They're sort of the opposite. They're the same the same role as the Vanguard, but a little bit different. They're better against big crowds of units rather than single targets or single clumped up targets of units. The Vanguards fire a sort of single heavy projectile, whereas the catapult fires many medium projectiles, I guess I would call it. Yeah, they ravage medium tanks, so let's call it medium projectiles. What is the move, Nostradamus? We are now up to a solid 8 fusion reactors, pumping out 500 metal per second. We are well into that T3 economy. There's no reason not to start contributing on the front lines, but I guess he's looking to end it all in one go. Not a lot of damage has really been done all over the map. Looks like some bombers are trying to get a little frisky here. They do find a advanced fusion, or advanced geothermal, rather, up here on this hill. Not enough bombers, however, to bring it down, and so it will stand with just shy of 50% health remaining. Oh, more bombers coming in, though. That's a way better hit. Advanced fusion, or advanced geothermal goes down right here for Fake Body, as well as a bunch of economy for Con Dark, who has to watch as these bombers drop right on his front lawn, or maybe his back lawn. Either way, yeah, the economy there just took a huge hit. A bunch of windmills went down, but really the biggest thing right there was all the build power that just went down for both Con Dark as well as Fake Body here, our red team leader. What is Fake Body up to? I am trying to figure out where his commands are. Don't see his cursor anywhere. Maybe he's worried about the front lines here, trying to get these catapults to fire into the correct positions. Those catapults can do a lot of friendly fire, so you definitely need to keep them wrangled. Gotta make sure that they're aiming in the right direction, otherwise things can get real nasty real quickly. Spybot coming out here, and I do like to see that. I also wouldn't mind scuttles being used. Scuttles are very, very powerful, especially if you can get a radar jammer out and about, or just take down their radar. There was a Juno missile that just landed over here. Very nice to see. Yeah, take out their radar, and then you're going to be in a really, really nice spot to move those scuttles in. Scuttles can only be detected with radar. They are invisible to the air. Looks like another bombing run went in, but this time prepared with the fighters and going to be able to shut that down. So this is where it really becomes important that you have 2 air players. One air player just really isn't going to be able to cut it. You can see that now with 2 air players for the blue team, they're going to have aerial superiority for quite a while. Shutting down the air forces here for the red team will be essentially a non-issue. More and more fusion reactors on the build. More and more build power on the build too. This economy is becoming ridiculous. You can see just how quickly this spirals upwards and out of control. Like a firework in the night, the fusion reactor explosion starts up. Loads more build power starting up too. Everything is putting a huge drain on the economy. Okay, we're going into the T2 Armada air labs here. I wonder if we're going to build multiple of them or if we're just getting one out. Not sure exactly here. Now, why do we need T2 Armada constructors? Could it be that we want to go for a Ragnarok? Does the Ragnarok and the Calamity cost different prices? 61,000 for the Cortex versus 63,000 for the Armada. So it'd be better to go for the Calamity. But I don't feel like that's the move here. I mean, it's certainly one option. It's a very powerful option. You put a Calamity out in the right spot. Good options for where to put one tend to be right around here on this beach. That can fire well into the lines over here. It can fire over in this direction. It can fire over here. It's a good way to wipe out a good portion of that. You can also build it up on top here. I believe there's like one spot that's just barely big enough for it. Otherwise, good options are actually over here on this island. You can build it, and it can reach out pretty far, do a decent amount of damage. Or you can even put it over here, and it can fire away at kind of this line right here. Of course, all of that is mirrored. It's one of those maps. Spybot here used to paralyze a couple of these Vanguard, try and shut them down. He's going to shut them down for a good 15 seconds more. They're going to be trapped on the front lines. I do like this tick spam coming out here. That's one way to push back this army that is all very heavy hitters. They're going to be stunned for quite a while here. Going to have a really hard time dealing with any of that. Eating up a whole lot of these construction turrets. I wonder why. I wonder what the play is here. With an economy this massive, you have to wonder what's going to go down. Exopyromathic has also built a massive fleet of air labs, T3. We've got basically everything under the sun. I wouldn't mind seeing all of these windmills sacrificed, because at this point fusion reactors would make a whole lot more sense. Windmills tend to take up a whole lot of space. You can see that a lot of the wind turbines, even for Nostradamus, were eaten up here. Of course, it's a whole lot easier to eat those up if you have the aerial build power. Certainly one option. I like to see that everyone's already preparing the anti-nukes as well. That's one area that you can skimp on and sorely regret. Indeed, the red team actually could do with a little bit more of a nuclear shield. Luckily for them, nobody's going for the 10 nuke strategy, but that's really, luck isn't really something you want to rely on too heavily. Up to a solid and steady 19 fusion reactors, with many more on the way here. So much metal that he can hardly contain it, up to 50,000 and counting. Can't even really spend it all. This is where those T2 construction turrets would really be handy. Those are in the experimental unit pack, but it's certainly nice to whip them out here. This would be exactly where you'd need that extra build power. Thors are hitting the front lines. Definitely a great option for shutting down big swarms of units. Better than that, though, I think just a counter swarm would probably work as well. Razorbacks are probably an even better option, though. They have that rapid fire laser Gatling gun. They can target that thing all over the place and really shut down swarms super effectively. Wouldn't mind seeing a couple of those in the front lines. Vanguards are pretty good, but they fire very slowly, and the other problem you have with them is if those units get a little too close, you can suddenly find yourself shooting into your own ranks. Also not something you should be too keen to do. A Juggernaut was produced, but interestingly, we're just sending it to the front line. Usually, if you're going to produce a Juggernaut, you're going to walk it through the lava and try and push through on this base. Both teams, by the way, have essentially zero defenses on that land, so it would be very, very easy to walk a T3, Jug, or Titan into essentially the back lines of the other team here. A lot of anti-air defenses, so bombing run probably not going to happen. But certainly a Juggernaut walking through in this direction would be difficult for the blue team to shut down. There's the closest command is Zerpai, which would take quite a bit before it was able to walk over in that direction, so he'd have to really be on top of it there. A nuker was built here, Armageddon. The Armada nuclear launcher. There is an anti-nuke somewhere around here. Looks like it's right there, just built fresh off the construction plate. It's going to be charging its nuke. For now, this area is actually relatively exposed to nuclear bombardment. Oh, interesting. Nostradamus going for a couple of nukes himself here, as well as more and more eco. It's all exponential, right? You can constantly be growing the economies in this game, and if you're constantly growing, then eventually you're going to hit the exponential growth curve, and you're never going to be able to spend all the resources that you even have. You're going to get D-gunned. Indeed, I think that will be the result here as Clueless marches forward, D-guns that Juggernaut with a swift flick of the wrist. And that is all it will take to wipe away that massive threat here. Yeah, that's why you don't send those to the front line like that. You need some sort of contingent of forces to deal with that D-gun potentiality there. Thor holding the front. Rock solid as ever. The Thor is designed to be sturdy. That's why it's a tank. There's a reason we call those tanks in video games. Gaming terms are simple, if not uncomplicated. More and more build power coming up here. Talk about an efficient use of space, right? Every square inch of this place is either used for resource production or used for construction, right? Like there's no fat on this at all. It is just entirely used up here. Very nice to see. Looks like Nostradamus has got the urge to nuke and is going to be going for, at the moment, 15 Armageddon nuke launchers. There's not a lot that can stop that. You basically need, I think it's like a 2 to 3 ratio of anti-nukes to nukes. Do I have that math right? Basically, you need well, it doesn't scale linearly like that, so I guess it's not fair to say. But basically, you're gonna need you need slightly less anti-nukes than you do nukes, but you still need a lot of them. Right now, there's not enough. That's all I'll say, is there's not enough over here for the red team. Maybe in the back line here where there's some double coverage from these players, but certainly on the front lines where anti-nuke coverage is a little slimmer, 15 is going to be able to pierce through. At the very least, oh yeah, also and growing. We're not stopping at 15. Why would we? That'd be foolish. How foolish of me to assume that we would stop at 15 nukes. No, why not go for 50? This is getting ridiculous. I love seeing these games on Supreme Straits where it's turned to lava, because this is exactly what happens. Things just scale so rapidly. It's a shame to see the T1 spam here when you really should just go for some economy yourself and then get into T2 spam. Yeah, we've actually got some hounds moving out here. Turn off these T1 labs, upgrade them all to T2, and just start spamming out T2 units. They might not be, you know, they still might die, but they're going to be a little bit more effective. And if you're spamming units, you don't care about economy anyways, so there's not really a reason why you should be concerned. Spam some anti-air units at the very least. Spam some of those crossbows, the T1 anti-air units here. You'll be in a real good spot. Nukes are charging up. These each take 1,000 metal apiece, or 1,000 energy apiece rather, so you can see 15,000, 16,000 energy drain. It is quite tremendous, but you know, when you're rocking an economy like this, 15,000 energy, ha, I scoff at you. That is nothing in the wake of eternity. More and more wind turbines were disassembled here to make room for the build power. And we are also going to start up more and more nuclear launchers. Nostradamus is interested in ending this game, yeah, with one swift nuking. The end of the world is upon us. Whoa, looks like I missed a massive bombing run over here. Chokeslam did move the bombers around. Sorry about that. I was way too hyperfixated on the Nostradamus economy to realize that, yeah, Chokeslam had been completely wiped out of the game. Bunch of T1 fighters here. Are these are they really? Oh no, those are T2. I thought we were still on T1 fighters. I was going to say that's a bit tragic to see this late in the game. No, they are T2 fighters, so that's why they were able to eventually mop up those T1 bombers. I'm guessing a lot of them died in the explosion too, but that is one player at the very least wiped out of this game if they're not handed a constructor and maybe a little bit of economy to get them back in this. In the meantime, doesn't look like it. Chokeslam just holding out, building his juggernaut. 9 energy per second here. Not sure where that's coming from. Oh, a single wind turbine over here. Very good to see. T1 units are the reason that this game slows down, by the way. I've played some real proper late game units that just end up becoming... Well, they run at full speed well into the late game here. Just you just have to not make a big swarm of the T1 units. That's really what drains the FPS and slows down the tick rate here of the game. It is an unfortunate truth, but also, I mean, sometimes that T1 spam is just well worth it. In times like this, though, where you can see that it clearly isn't, just consider turning the factory off. You know, there's not really a need to do that. Build some T2 at the very least. Nuking the straits so that the units are running through lava is kind of an interesting solution to this problem, but I actually don't mind seeing it. I like that we're using the terrain to our advantage here. I'd love to see some nukes spread out across here so that, yeah, we can actually make the entire Supreme Strait a lava field. Shuts down the T1 spam pretty easily. It's a very unique way of doing it, but it is quite effective, I would imagine. Every time I look back here, I'm just more and more terrified. The nuke count now, 36. I hope the red team is prepared for what's about to hit their bases, because this is going to be unapologetically beautiful. More nukes coming down to pinch the straits. kind of pinching one off here as we try and narrow the Supreme Strait even further. Yeah, the T1 spam is just pointless at this point. It looks great, don't get me wrong. There is an aesthetic to it that I can really appreciate, but if you're running your units through lava, there we go. Clueless has realized that the spam is essentially pointless here and has started turning off his labs, pausing them at the very least. And I think that's the right thing to do. You're going to turn them back on, just pausing them in time to reroute the units at the very least, which is not something that I can say for Fake Body here. Looks like our tan hero over here did just tap out of the game. Wasn't worth rebuilding in his eyes, so we just decided to hand over that T3 lab and let somebody else take over for now. Tapping out of the game at this point, I mean, you know, you gotta expect that there's something big coming on. We haven't seen anything out of Nostradamus this entire game, and I'll be honest, he's got a bit of a reputation, so you'd better be expecting something pretty huge. Interesting decision to go for a whole bunch of metal storages and energy storages in the backline here. It's you don't see that very often, but it's one way to spend your resources, that's for sure. We're surprised nobody's gone for a Ragnarok yet. It is well and properly timed to go for a Ragnarok. I think those were self-destructed. I'm going to guess that those were self-destructed here in order to make a little bit more room. I want to say. Are these gunships? Those are gunships. We have gunships, bombers, and a whole hell of a lot of fighters. Some nuclear bombers are out, actually, for Lorphy here. I'd love to see full nuclear bomber production. One trick that you can do with these guys is you just set them to attack fire. Or fire at will, I believe is what it's called. Check with these guys, they ought to have it. Yeah, fire at will. And then whenever you fly them over something, they will just drop their payload on the first thing that they see. It's a very effective way to just fly a swarm of nuclear bombers over something and just watch the chaos unfold as everything beneath them disappears. It can be very powerful. We're getting towards the end of our build space here. There's really not a whole lot left. There's yeah, we're kind of running out of room in the backline here. How many launchers did we get up to in total? 52 nuclear launchers total. I don't know what could stop 52 nuclear launchers, short of like 50 anti-nuke launchers. No anti-nuke has 52 missiles. I don't think they can even store that many. If we take a look here, max stockpile is 20. So if you just had a single anti-nuke, yeah, you'd be able to shoot down 20 of those missiles, but not really, because it'd all be coming at you at once. Oh, and there's more on the way. Nostradamus not ready to shut this one down yet. Not sure why the T3 armies don't push in here. When you're just dealing with T1 spam, it's effectively a non-issue, and I'd love to see these Titans starting to march forward. If you let the T1 spam consume you, you will never become a true Jedi like your father. I like that the anti-nuke was brought out to the front lines here. That is going to shut down the pinching of the straits. keep it nice and girthy so that you can move those units across. No RPCs built in the back here. That's not bad either. Kind of bummed though that we're not seeing any T3 walk through the lava. That's always a fun thing to see in these games because they can kind of appear where you least expect them. There is a nothing burger of an Air Force here for the red team. I don't know why we're not producing virtually anything here. This is kind of unfortunate that no fighters are up and available here. T1 fighters, man. Yeah, it's time for a bit of an upgrade. Little bit of a scout here, trying to take a look around and see if there's anything that they can bomb. Ooh, a Ragnarok is starting up now. Ooh, well, yeah, it looks like a bunch of constructors went down. I think it might have actually been friendly fire there. Yeah, that's gonna take a while. Might be worth bombing. I guess it's not what Exopyromathic is interested in here. Instead, going to try and take down this base. Maybe going for the advanced fusion reactors over here. Wow, all of those bombers will be shot down though. Talk about the power of anti here. All of these flat cannons. That's a solid 25 flat cannons. No, yeah, 40 flat cannons here. Wow. Holding the line, as it were. 61 nukes. I'm just going to go ahead and guess that most of those are charged. Maybe 50 nukes are charged up to 61. That is a powerful force. Don't know what could really hold up against that. It's kind of a matter of who gets to fire first. The Ragnarok can start taking out bases. It's certainly going to do some damage, but I mean, we can also just nuke that thing down. Who wants to pull the trigger first? Building a bunch of anti-air before building the Ragnarok, probably not a bad idea. The anti-air is pretty critical to keeping this thing alive. Wouldn't mind seeing the anti-air built a little bit further forward too. There are plenty of flak trucks here though as well, making sure to thwart off any of those bombers that might get a little too frisky here. How many nuclear bombers are we at? Oh, I'm trying to see. Let me do it this way. Control Z, select all the nuclear bombers here. 36 nuclear bombers. Certainly not enough to end the game with here, but definitely enough to do some damage. Could fly over the front lines here and just wipe away a significant portion of it at the very least. Always one option. Looks like the T1 spam will be turned off, and I'm glad to see it. It's going to keep our frame rate nice and high here. We're already down to 0.89 speed, but I have a feeling that we'll be all right for this one. Ragnarok comes up and starts firing away here. Going to start firing at the front lines. Probably not the ideal target. I would probably say you want to target something a little bit more juicy. Maybe the back line's over here. Oh, whoa, we do have a huge bounce, though. Those plasma balls are being deflected all the way across the map here. Sent well into the back line of Exobiromathic, who's now dealing with the repercussions of a Ragnarok on the other side of the map. That's quite infuriating. You seem well clear of the launch there, but somehow still taking the shots. At this point, Nostradamus is just leaking metal left and right. Gonna have the entire team's economy up and running here in his pocket. Even more construction turrets coming up back here. I wonder if he's gonna continue building nuke launchers on the high ground, Anakin. Oh, he's got them all selected. Is this the time? Not yet. I don't want to miss it. I really don't want to miss it. Oh, looks like it tried to bomb this area, but there was really heavy anti-air there, and not going to be able to take out the Ragnarok. Paralyze it for a little bit, that's not bad. But not going to be able to kill it, that's for sure. The Red Army is moving forward. This could be dangerous. Whoa, we have a counter Nostradamus maneuver. I didn't even notice over here. A bunch of transports were built by the, what is it, DSI Dark Nate, who I was not paying attention to for a little while there. Gonna move the transports forward, start paralyzing whenever they can. Heavy anti-air, though, is going to eventually shut those down. And unfortunately, without any beamers in their pockets, it is much less effective. Bombers now coming out. They're going to try and just destroy the front lines here, doing a little bit of carpet bombing. Always a fan of a little bit of carpet bombing. Definitely very satisfying, to say the very least. And it's also a very expensive way of scouting, I suppose. Come on, Nostra. I know you want to. He's looking at this right now, making sure that he's got enough of them charged. Basically, these last few are the only ones that don't have a charge. And counter push of Thor's here, though. Gonna easily push forward. Another Ragnarok up and running. Oh. Gentlemen. Just reading the chat here. Here we go. Called this shit. Chaotic Crouton knows what he's up against. Yeah, he knew to fear he knew to fear them. And thus misery fell upon those who dared to challenge the word of the Savior, in the form of enriched uranium. Theos 1337. Oh yeah, I've got to watch this in full 4K. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. How many is that total? 66, give or take. My god. Of all of those, one nuke squeaked through, by the way. That's how powerful the anti-nuke is. All of those nukes in a single nuke squeaked through. He's not done, however. Yeah, it looks like he's just targeted everywhere. Big line all over the place here. My god. Look how many anti-nukes must be fired. It's a sea of anti-nukes. My god. It's beautiful, isn't it? Glorious. The glorious sunset. Oh my god. It's drained all of the anti-nukes over here. There's none left. There's nothing left. Titans and Juggernauts are pushing forward, taking advantage of this. We have Juggernauts walking onto the shoreline over here. No defenses over there either. There is simply too much. The nukes are not done. He's continuing to put them all over the place. He's got a bunch of them going into the backline here. There's tons of anti-nukes available. Might be able to shoot them all down here. I'm not sure. We are talking about 72 nukes at this point, firing at once. Yeah, there's no way. Lo be upon you as the nuclear bombardment rains down. Well, the lone anti-nuke is fired. I have a feeling this base was only the last by sheer luck. This is truly beyond all reason right here. My God. This is the end times. Dark Knight still holding out, as well as Boset. Cloaking our commanders and hiding him in the back line here. At this point, Nosher should probably just give it a good old everywhere razzle dazzle. I mean, what can I even say? I haven't forgotten that I'm supposed to be commentating this. I just, I'm a little bit speechless. What can you say in the face of that much nuclear carnage? Oh. He's targeting himself now. Mind sending this replay to Brightworks so I can see it on YouTube? Well, here you are, Crouton. Looks like we just have a couple of players who don't know where the resign button is, and wow, look at that destruction over there. Not only taking out himself, but also Lorfy in the process, unfortunately. Just a side effect of the devastation. But Nostradamus giving me a little shout out there. Love you too, Nostradamus. You keep sending me good content like this. How could I not? The commanders are uncloaked at this point, but yeah, this is basically a game. This might be the game ever, that's for sure. Boset hiding to the very last here. Nobody wants to end this game, they just want to live in the moment. Oh, there goes one of them. Other commander isn't even hiding over here. He's just, you do a vision of it, I would believe. Yeah. You know, we just don't feel like it. Ah, there we go. Wow. I hope you enjoyed. That was surprising. You know, when I see Nostradamus, I expect the classic Nostradamus maneuver, but this is definitely an interesting take on the IP. I guess it was foretold that I would cast this game, and well, here you go. I can see why now. Thanks a ton for submitting this game. I don't believe Nostradamus sent this in. It was somebody else who sent it in, but well done to send me this, because I sure love seeing these epic games. Supreme Straight just turns into an absolute slugfest, and you get these kind of wacky ones like this here. We'll take a look at the graphs here. Yeah, that's not surprising. That's not surprising at all. But what I do want to take a look at the cratered surface of this side of the map. Everywhere you look, there's just there's a hole in the ground. You can see every impact where a nuke collided. That is devastating. Anyway, here's a look at the statistics. Don't know if it even matters. I'll sum it up for you. Green, big money, big nuclear launchers, big fun. And I guess that's all for this cast. I'm a little bit speechless, folks. I better go have a drink or something. I'll see you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed. Peace out.